People who made an impulse decision when they found out Hawaii was going to be nuked. What did you do and do you regret it? All I regret is filling my emergency water containers right behind the car, so now I'm blocked in the garage by 150 gallons of water. I can't stop laughing at this. Sorry man, but this is awesome. That's an awkward call to work come Monday morning. Currently in Kailua on the island of Oahu. When my wife and I got the message, we were in bed. She asked me to make scrambled eggs with sausage, toast, and avocado. So I went downstairs and made breakfast as fast and best I could. Gave my pup some too cause he is going to dine like a king if it's really his last meal. After the false alarm, we made an appointment at an ultrasound office to see our unborn daughter. Life is precious. Your pup must have wondered how we was such an extra good boy that day. My 70-year-old dad ate 2 loaves of bread while hiding in his closet. He said he only regrets it because he has to buy more bread now. That is the most dad thing to do. I'll be damned if this bread is going to waste. I started off trying to wake up my roommates to no avail. Then, in extreme denial, I walked outside my home to see if everyone else was hysterically preparing for a disaster. There were crowds of people running to their cars from the beach. The freeway was completely blocked, and yet there were also elderly people who didn't get a notification just watering their lawn as if nothing was happening. After the 5-minute outside which felt like an hour, I walked back in to see my roommates awake switching through channels and seeing a banner on every channel that warned us to seek shelter, stay to the floor, and away from windows. Then I received a frantic call from my mom, from California in tears saying how much she loved me, then calling my dad and 2 sisters saying it could be the last time they might talk to me. My sister, 12, felt so rushed and said she loved me but didn't know what else to say. I could hear my other sister, 6, say how could Ryan be dying? There's no way. At this point my biggest fear was no longer dying. It was the thought of my family I'm leaving behind. I told them how I live in an area with low population and away from military bases and I should be fine with my water and food reserves. Mid-call I receive an incoming call from my uncle who lives on island. I figured he had important news that was relevant, so I told my family I had to hang up. He told me it was a false alarm. I proceeded to tell everyone else, and that concluded my most stressful 30 minutes ever. That 6-year-old is about to have a breakdown. My best friend is vacationing there. She crawled into bed with her 3 and 5-year-old daughters and held them while accepting that they were going to die. Her husband called from a fishing boat trip to say he loved them and wished he was with them. This broke my heart. My grandma told us she bought MREs on Amazon when she got the alert. We had to actually explain to her how that wouldn't have helped. Oh, Amazon would have delivered that no prob. They are very dedicated. When I heard about it, my 12-year-old daughter called from shelter at a basketball game she was cheering for. Neither my wife and I received any cell notification, so we looked at each other and decided that by this point if something is coming we don't have time to seek shelter, so just hope for the best and let the other kids sleep. I have a co-worker that ran red lights taking his family to a hospital basement for shelter where a woman was forced to give birth. 100% don't regret my approach to this. Personally, I slept through it. I woke up to the second LOLNVM alert, though my dad was down at the beach taking pictures, and he told me later that he fully intended to just stay there and hang out. My mum had thought her phone had a virus, so she didn't do anything. 8:07. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. 8:45. LOLNVM. Hawaii resident here. While I didn't make the impulse decision, the people around me did. I was sleeping when the announcement came out, and the others in my house didn't decide to wake me up. They said if I was gonna die, might as well let me die in my sleep. Cleared out the fridge and hid in it for 6 hours. Got the alert with 2% battery, so had no idea it was fake. Went to Hanakoho to dive. Figured 100 featuring underwater was as good a place as any. No boom. My dad lives in Molokai. Pop of 8,000 or so. I called him when I heard about it. Asked him about it. He said 1. He didn't think it was real anyway. 2. A nuke from NK would be small and aimed at one of the population centers. Oahu, Maui, Big Island, and would not kill him. And 3. If 1 and 2 were wrong, He couldn't do much to stop it. He just had breakfast on the lanai like usual. This is why I want to move to Hawaii. I ate all the leftover lasagna in my fridge. I figured that if shoot's about to hit the fan, I better carb TF up. Most rational response yet. Leave no carbs behind. I texted my mother, I need to tell you I love you. In case everything goes wrong, please tell everyone I love them and I've had a wonderful life. I'm very happy. She called me in a panic and I told her I loved her. She asked me if I was going to leave and I told her I was going to stay with my husband no matter what. I ended the call because I didn't want her to hear me die if it did happen. Then I kissed my husband and we held each other on the couch. It was a good day. That's beautiful. Reminds me of the beach scene in Deep Impact. Calm, loving embrace before death. Except you lived. Congratulations. My wife and I had just sat down to eat at Cafe 100 in Hilo on the Big Island when we all got the alert. I don't know if it's because we're both first responders or what, but we just continued eating while trying to check the internet to see if it was real. I know it said not a drill, but it was just so. I dunno, Surreal? The owner sent his employees home and sat with us. I remember thinking that this is an island. There's no place to go. And I already paid for this meal, damn it. I got on the emergency services scanner for the island and heard someone confirm it wasn't real about 15 minutes before the actual alert went to everyone. So that was good. I'm just peeved that the first place the government went to confirm it was false was freaking Twitter. We had next to no internet connection because everyone was jamming the signal, and Twitter is terrible anyway. Why not send an all clear on the phones ASAP? The owner sent his employees home and sat with us. Now my heart's broken. That poor guy maybe had no one to be with. No wife, no kids, no family, no friends. So he sat down with you guys to not die alone. It was 8:07 AM. I was sitting in my hotel room in Waikiki browsing Reddit, saw the alert and immediately turned on the news and started going to Twitter. I didn't hear any sirens, no news. It was eerie enough to question. I went outside my door, saw people yelling and people calling loved ones. I was glad I stayed calm, but hotel staff was running out of the building. The lobby was a crap show for about 20 minutes. From my point of view, the locals seemed scared. It was their home and livelihood. I was on an island 2,395 miles away from home, so if I was gonna die at least there was nice weather. My friend who goes to college on the island said campus was an absolute crap show. I felt like this alert showed me that I can keep calm and that I'm a bit apathetic towards death. And I'm pretty proud of myself. I realized the same thing when that stupid rocket launch happened in California. I was walking out of work and I saw the object flying in the sky and I was just like, well, nothing I can realistically do. Might as well enjoy some fresh air while I can. I got drunk for the first time in 4 years of sobriety. Oops. I kinda assumed at least a few people would relapse with this news. It's understandable. I hope you talked it out with your support people and this didn't sidetrack your hard-won sobriety. I made an impulse decision to stay in bed with my wife. Nowhere to go for safety. No time to get there anyway. Might as well be comfortable in my bed with someone I love. Well, I don't live in Hawaii, but as someone who's planned for some of this stuff, I'd caution against just resigning yourself to die. Depending on a lot of different factors, you could easily survive. A woman survived Hiroshima 300 meters from the epicenter of the blast because she was in a sturdy building. The man sitting on the steps outside became a shadow on the pavement. The typical yield you can expect to hit a counter-value target like a city is below 1 megaton. Probably closer to the range of 150 to 300 kilotons. If you don't live downtown, the likely center of target, and are at least 2 miles from the epicenter, then you stand at least a 50% chance of surviving, which goes up exponentially if you take even basic steps to survive, like hiding in a windowless room. There are so many different factors to consider. Is the weapon set for ground detonation or airburst? If airburst, what altitude? What direction is the wind blowing? Fission versus fusion ratio, local geography, and proximity, and so many others. Point is, don't give up. You can make it. I regret not calling my parents. I was in total denial mode and only called my fiance to ask if he got the alert too. He was working at Honolulu Airport, where the scene was more chaotic. He didn't think he'd ever see me again. I was in the living room changing my 2-month-old son's diaper. My wife was in the bedroom sleeping in. I hear the alarm go off on my phone a couple feet away and just think, oh, it's just one of those Amber Alerts, and go back to changing his diaper. A second later my wife comes running out of the bedroom screaming that we were going to die. I kind of froze up. All I could think was how helpless I felt and how I couldn't do anything to save my newborn son. My wife was running around the house grabbing diapers and formula for the baby, and I was just slowly finishing changing his diaper because I just couldn't imagine that something like this could happen. After about 2-3 minutes I sort of snapped back to reality and focused only on getting my son and wife to some sort of safety. I live in a relatively small beach house with very thin walls, so I knew it wouldn't do anything, but I told my wife we would be safest in the bathroom in the middle of our house. It really wasn't an impulse decision, but throughout the whole thing I didn't think to even call or text any of my family on the mainland. If you had asked me what I would do if put in this situation, I would say I would call my parents and tell them I love them, but I didn't even think of that. I just thought about how much I love my wife and son and how sad I was that I wouldn't be able to see who he would become when he grows up. This has really given me a completely different perspective on life and makes me sad that I didn't even think to say goodbye to my family back home. Well, think of this as an opportunity now to love your son every day so that you can enjoy seeing the kind of man he'll be when he grows up. It's a privilege denied to many, after all. In the chaos of figuring out where to seek shelter, we ended up deciding to go to the hospital that my wife works at. She's a nurse. Figuring we could maybe help out with the flood of people that would be coming to the hospital with injuries. We have about 20 minutes from the time an alert is received until the missile hits. We were up against that limit when I pulled into a parking spot I found on the street. My wife grabbed my son and ran for the hospital. I grabbed some change and started paying the parking meter. My wife turned back and yelled, "What are you doing?" I yelled back, "We have to pay the meter, even if the world is going to end. We're not savages. We didn't get a parking ticket, so no regrets." I was in a hostel and I'm a male, and all of the other people in the hostel room I was in were women the same age as me. We all got the text at once and looked at each other. I knew what I had to do. Awkwardly comfort them with jokes while they cried. Not very romantic. The hero they needed. Edit. I mean that is a very good thing. Mad respect. Had an impulse panic attack. 195/100 wouldn't recommend. 195/100. This is so freaking funny and I relate wholeheartedly. I'm stationed in Hawaii. Woke up to the message. Audibly said frick. I grabbed my med bag and got out of my room to see if anyone on duty knew what was going on. Saw everyone on barracks duty was knocking on the doors and directing people to the battalion aid station, which is one of the designated bomb shelters. I knew the doors were locked and I was the only one who knew the code who was there, so I unlocked them and opened it for everyone to get inside. Once inside, more and more people came in. Compared to the rest of the island, it was pretty calm. Civilians and people from other units were just sitting on the floor chatting. I called up my mom and sister and told them what was happening, and if anything happens to know that I signed up for this and that I love them. As I walked through trying to prep everything for the impending missile, I accepted I was probably going to die, but I would make an effort to survive. Eventually somebody came by and told us it was a false alarm. Then I went kayaking. No regrets. This is a money dog. Upvote in the next 24 hours and money will come your way. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.